Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This, I think, is the first time since I want to say October where we've actually had a day that has been above freezing. I mean, where in the fuck is global warming when you need it? I mean, this weather has been outstanding if you're a fucking moose. So anyway, let's get into this. We got to talk about this Donald Trump putting tariffs on Canada and what this has to do, I believe, with the upcoming Four Nations face-off. We're going to get into this, and we're going to get into a key piece of the Johnny Gaudreau death, which I don't know if I actually mentioned in the video I made on him. And then stay tuned to the end, because we're going to talk about this Wikipedia page, misogyny and ice hockey. This is absolutely fucking hilarious. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the Donald Trump placing tariffs on Canada, okay? He did it on Canada, Mexico, and China, and this happened February 1st of 2025. That was the same day that the Ottawa Senators played the Minnesota Wild. This is a typo. It's supposed to say Senators. I believe Detroit also played in Calgary that day, and I don't recall hearing people in Calgary boo the American national anthem. They did that in Ottawa. The media made a big deal about that, which tells you all you need to know about the people who live in Ottawa. Isn't Ottawa the place where, like, from the main street all the way to Parliament Hill, they have, like, pride flags the entire way? So that tells you all you need to know about the city of Ottawa. Calgary, they're conservative, so they're probably decent people. But notice how the Senators, they won this game 6-0 over the Minnesota Wild, right? The Minnesota Wild, who, his entire team is pretty much made up of Canadians. So they make a big deal about the Ottawa Senators fans booing the Star-Spangled Banner before the game against the Minnesota Wild. Interestingly enough, remember Canada Day, the national holiday in the Great White North, that is July 1st, a date written 1/7. Ottawa is 17. And of course, this year, because Canada was established in 1867, so July 1st, 2025, Canada will turn 158 years old. And of course, Minnesota Wild sums to 158. So, my goodness gracious, this computer sometimes. Okay, there we go. Got it fixed. All right. So notice the Senators won this game 6-0, right? Notice the word tariff sums to 60 when you run the alphabetic order. And of course, Minnesota, the 32nd state, gets wasted on the 32nd day of the year when America is 32. As a state, Minnesota was established on May 11th, the 131st day of the year, the 32nd prime number. Go figure. Ottawa's in their 33rd season, right? The word tariff is 33. Don't forget, if Canada fails to win the Stanley Cup again this year, it will be 32 years since they last won the Stanley Cup in 1993. We're keeping an eye on next season as well. Notice the Senators and Wild have played in 33 games all time, right? 16 wins, 13 losses, 1 tie, 3 overtime losses. Ties, of course, no longer exist. Now, the Johnny Gaudreau death, this is interesting because Johnny Gaudreau is an American, and as I talked about, keep an eye on the American teams internationally. I'm not sure the United States is winning the Four Nations. If I had to pick a team now, and this is tough because we have to base it solely on storylines, we can't base it off of history because we have no prior history in this tournament. This tournament is kind of similar to the way the Canada Cup used to be and the World Cup of hockey, if you remember that. The Canada Cup, and I guess the Summit Series before that. But the reason the Canada Cup was so exciting and such a big deal when it was going on was because the Canada Cup was the NHL players representing their respective nations in an international tournament, because the Olympics did not do that. The American, Canadian, Swedish and Finnish rosters and et cetera, they did not. The NHL players were not allowed to play. They always played with amateur players. And that changed in 1998 when, NHL players competed in the Olympics for the first time. But, that was part of the reason why the Soviet Union and Czechoslovakia dominated international hockey. But anyway, damn that shit. Let's get into this. The Four Nations tournament, notice a Four Nations face-off sums to 86, like Johnny Gaudreau's full name. And it's 176 days. It begins February 12th. And the final is on the 20th in the home of the Boston Bruins, and we're going to get into that. But from the date he died to the final is exactly 176 days. And again, his full name is 176. So is Donald J. Trump. I'm gonna bring this all together. But again, Donald J. Trump, 176. Gaudreau also died 167 days before the start of the tournament. And of course, Canada, they're playing in the opening game against Sweden, so keep your eye on that. Canada's 39. Remember, next year will also be the 167th time the Stanley Cup is going to be presented. Canada's 39. Oilers is 39. Oilers is also 33. It'll be 33 years since Canada won the Cup, assuming they don't win it this year. I made my Stanley Cup prediction video already, and it's not a Canadian team, so keep that in mind. So, again, this whole thing, right? Canada, Trump comes out and says Canada should be the 51st state, which they always have been. Let's be real, Canada. I know there are Canadians who watch this channel. You know it's true. At the end of the day, though, we all know if the shit really ever hit the fan, Americans and Canadians, we'd have each other's backs. Yeah, we all know this is true. The media certainly wouldn't. The media would do nothing but divide people, and same thing with the government. But normal people, we'd have each other's backs if the shit ever hit the fan. You could guarantee that. And then there's also this thing, apparently the Raptor fans, they were also booing the anthem, which is fucking hilarious because, of course, the probably 90 to 95% of the Raptors roster is made up of American-born players. But anyway, you're paying money to watch Americans play. Isn't that interesting? Just like the biggest star arguably the biggest star in Canada outside of Connor McDavid in the biggest market in the NHL, Toronto, is Austin Matthews, who's an American. But anyway, the Trump said that Canada should be the 51st state. The four nations face off. The final is on February 20th, the 51st day of the year, and it's in the home of the Boston Bruins, which sums to 51. And Hockey Canada, which is the governing body of Canadian International Ice Hockey, they, I think, just had a diversity hire where their president, I think, their new president is a woman, so they had to get the female in there after the mythical scandal. Remember when I called Hockey Canada and I got hung up on? If you go to my YouTube channel and you go to live and you look at where I called Hockey Canada, it's like an hour-long video, but if you go to the end of that video, that's when the phone call happens. And the woman hung up on me immediately. Couldn't take the facts. But anyway, from Donald Trump's last birthday, his 78th birthday, to the date that he announces the tariffs on Canada is exactly 233 days. And again, 233, that's the 51st prime number. And Hockey Canada, it was established on December 4th, and from December 4th, I'm not sure why it says founded here and then founded here again. I'm assuming there was a governing body before Hockey Canada took over. That's what I'm going to assume. But anyway, 68, right? That fateful year. But anyway, from December 4th to the final is exactly 78 days. Trump's 78 years old. Makes a lot of sense, right? The divisors of 78 sum to 168. Boston Bruins is 168. So keep that in mind. But if I had to pick a team right now, I'd say Canada's probably getting it done, right? Canada pissed off at the United States right now. Unless the narrative's going to be, I mean, you could argue, that is it Finland? Is it Sweden? The U.S. and Canada are going to play on February 15th anyway in the tournament, but these two probably going to be in the final. Good chance they will be. If I had to pick a team right now, I would say Canada gets it done. That's my initial hunch. Because remember what they did with Donald Trump during the Stanley Cup final. Remember Florida? Okay, Florida, and you know what? This whole video, this and the one from 2023, I basically have to remake these entire videos because now Vegas and Florida back-to-back years got their 54th all-time playoff win, and I always talk about the significance of 37. It is the Stanley Cup number. 54 is the 37th composite number. I have to almost remake these entire videos. It's crazy. It's crazy, but, you know, that's just a piece we didn't know before. But Donald Trump, this should say in leap years. June 14th in a leap year is the 166th day of the year. That's the same. Donald Trump's got the same birthday as the U.S. flag. Florida Panthers is 166. And remember, the Oilers got their 136 playoff loss. Stanley Cup 136. I'm always talking about 136 and 37. The video I made in the Stanley Cup Finals this year, we put a big emphasis on 136. From the date the Oilers were established, which was June 22nd, 1979, the anniversary of their establishment, June 22nd, to the upcoming election was 136 days. We said, my God, man, lock it up. Florida's getting it done. We said this after game 1 of the finals. And sure enough, Florida went on to get it done. And sure enough, Trump went on to become president again. So 60th presidential election, Edmonton, Alberta, 60. Yep, that's very, very interesting. I should call Hockey Canada again, talking about the look at this bullshit on this page from fucking Wikipedia, talking about misogyny and ice hockey. Oh my God, it was absolutely hilarious. Literally, I read this page and I just bust out laughing. Lack of official, like the Ice Girls. How the fuck are the Ice Girls? How is that misogyny? Let me clue you into something. Straight men like to look at attractive women. I know, right? It's a bombshell shocker. And now, oh my God, we got to go down to the issues page here. This is absolutely hysterical. Rape culture, because rape only exists within ice hockey, right? Lack of investment. Well, no, now here's the biggest conspiracy theory. This is what made me bust out laughing. The biggest conspiracy theory on this well, pretty much every conspiracy theory is left wing. I can't even think of a right wing conspiracy theory. I can think of the things that the media calls a far right conspiracy theory, but as I say, there's no such thing as far right politics, and there's no such thing as right wing conspiracy theory. Almost every conspiracy theory comes from the left. Okay, the belief in the gender pay gap, the belief that men give birth, the belief that women have more guns have more rights than women. None of these things are true. Okay, so now the WNBA is worse. The WNBA is far worse. But the NHL, they actually believe that the Women's Hockey League should be given the same salary as the NHL players. Okay, let me explain to you something. You only get paid what you're worth. Could you imagine any of us going to our jobs and saying, you know what, I should be paid more money than I deserve simply because I'm a woman or I'm black or whatever? It's like black reparations, right? It's like, oh, we should be paying black reparations. It's like, we already are. We've been paying black reparations since the 60s. It's called welfare. And that's what these women want. They want this woke welfare. They want money they haven't earned. They don't generate any money, but yet they want more money for a shitty product. Nobody wants to watch masculine women advocate for the woke wiener, because they always characterize misogyny, women's rights, homosexuality, and transgenderism. It's all under one roof, right? That's why when you look at these women, the Women's Hockey League, they all have a pride and a trans flag hanging in the rafters, because it's all the same bullshit. Seriously, if you ever want a good laugh, read this page. It's absolutely hilarious. The highest paid players receive around $10,000 a year, which is way more than what they're worth. They're making too much money. That's the gender pay gap. Women are like the WNBA. They want chartered flights and more money, and the league lost $50 million a year. The only reason you exist is because of the men in the NBA. The NBA fucking subsidizes your league. It's like Canada. The whole reason Canada exists is because you get tens of millions of dollars from the United States every year. The only country the United States gives more money to each year other than Canada is Israel. And that's a whole nother discussion. Oh. Notice what they say here. In more conservative regions have heavier barriers to go through. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Look at what it says here. A puck bunny is defined as a female ice hockey fan whose interest in the sport is primarily motivated by sexual attraction to the players rather than the enjoyment of the game itself. The stereotype is often criticized as being derogatory towards female fans. No, it is not. Let me let you in on a little story. I'm from Western Pennsylvania. I was born in Pittsburgh, okay? Imperial, which is right by the Pittsburgh International Airport. It's a suburb outside of Pittsburgh. But I tell people I'm from Pittsburgh because if you say you're from Imperial, it sounds like you're a pussy. But when Sidney Crosby got drafted in 2005, after the Penguins won the rigged draft lottery to get Crosby, there wasn't a girl in Western Pennsylvania that did not want to get in his pants. He could have had any girl he wanted in all of Western Pennsylvania, especially when it was announced the signing bonus he got, which is not taxed, by the way. Half of these girls didn't know the difference between a football and a hockey puck. Okay? There is absolutely truth to this. I saw it firsthand. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Yeah, as coaches, we need you cannot have female coach. You want to have a female trainer, female sideline reporter, female intermission host. No one cares about that. But you start bringing women into friggin' men's sports as coaches, as players, you men have to have their spaces, women have to have their spaces. It's just like that episode of Seinfeld. You're killing independent George. Okay? There's a reason, and it works both ways, too. There's a reason why women don't want to turn on QVC or HSN and see a man selling them stilettos and pantyhose. There's a double standard here, ladies, and you fucking know it's true. Let's see here. What else do we got? The Chicago Blackhawks stopped playing the song Stripper. That is absolutely hilarious. Oh, you know what was funny the other day? We have NHL Center Ice this year because DirecTV, I guess we have DirecTV, and they gave us NHL Center Ice for free. It's freaking hilarious how when you go on NHL Center Ice, we were watching a game. I want to say it was the Vancouver Canucks against somebody. It was a Canadian broadcast. It was a Sportsnet broadcast. And as soon as it goes to intermission, there was an Indian guy and a black woman who were doing the in-between period stuff. And I was watching the game with my brother, and he goes, boy, you know, that's a diversity hire. And I just bust out laughing because your reaction is one of humor, really. When they talk about this here, like misogyny and sexism, what they're referring to is what it really is it's anti-white racism and it's misandry. Misandry is the hatred of men or discrimination against men. When they say this, it's actually misandry and anti-white racism. And we know it is because the only areas of life that anybody cares about diversity, equity, and inclusion are areas dominated by straight white men. You would never hear anybody say, you know what, there's way too many fucking blacks on an NBA court. We need to bring in more straight white players. If you said that, they'd call you a racist. Nobody would ever say, you know what, there's way too many female nurses and female elementary school teachers. We need to bring in more straight white guys. If you said that, you'd be called a misogynist. But yet in ice hockey, whenever you say, you know what, there's way too many straight white men in the league, well, that automatically means gays and women aren't allowed. It's discrimination. Certainly not misandry or. Did you ever notice that how there are no non-left-wing victims? Did you ever notice that? You know, there's no non-left-wing victims. It's always interesting. You never hear a word for like Christian hater or conservative hater or Trump hater. You know, but you hear about misogyny, sexism, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia. Notice what they say here. The social aspect of the sports supports the issues related to misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia, and heteronormality. Now, you know they're just making up fucking words at this point. But xenophobia, right? Xenophobia is the fear or hatred of foreigners, right? Here's the kicker. Ivan Provorov. You remember this story? We covered it. I got a video on it. Ivan Provorov was told by every single left-wing sports writer, and by the way, there's a lack of diversity, too many left-wing sports writers. We need more right-wing sports writers, more normal people. They don't want any diversity of opinion, no. That's not allowed. That diversity they don't want. Everyone must think the same way, act the same way, behave the same way. There's a reason why the former daily communist newspaper of the Soviet Union was called Pravda. Pravda is a Russian word that means truth. The daily communist newspaper of the Soviet Union was literally called Truth. What does that tell you? But anyway, remember Ivan Provorov, who didn't wear the Pride jersey and they all said you should go back to where you came from? Certainly not xenophobic at all, right? Assuming that you're talking to a white man whose sole violation of the woke commandments is that he's not gay enough. So it's all okay to say that about a white guy who doesn't endorse the Pride, because apparently if you don't tolerate, celebrate, and participate in another group's actions, you hate them. That's how this works, apparently. So then if you don't wear a crucifix around your neck and proclaim Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior, then you hate Christians and you wish all Christians would die in a genocide. I think what we should advocate for in hockey, the NHL for next season, we should have a pro-life night where every Democrat in attendance is forced to wear a T-shirt that says abortion is murder, choose life. And we will brutally execute anyone who refuses to wear that shirt. We will have a pro-gun night, a gun rights night, and we will have a men's night and a white history night. I think those are the 4 nights we should include into next year's NHL season. I think because we have no diversity when it comes to these theme nights. It's always Asian night, women in sport night, Pride night. You know, it's always a left-wing groups night. When do the right-wing people get a night? Isn't that interesting? There was also something on here somewhere where it talks about the fact that the stereotype of women being too masculine. Nobody wants to see a bunch of masculine women with no skills playing shitty hockey advocating for getting plugged in your ass. Sorry, normal people aren't into that faggot nonsense. So, I think we'll leave it there. I just found that page absolutely hilarious. The fact that it even exists is absolutely hilarious. 4 nations face off, man. We'll see where they go with this. We'll see what ends up happening. Don't forget. Let me look at this. When does the NHL... We got to get our live streaming date. When does the NHL season end? April 17th. Okay. Let me look here. April 17th. I want to see when does April 17th. That's a Thursday. Shit. That's a Thursday. So the playoffs might start in the 19th. Okay, we're going to have to do our Patreon live stream probably either the 18th. God damn it. Either the 18th or I'm going to have to do it early Saturday morning. I'm either going to... See, I don't want the people who want to be there. I don't want you and staff to get up too early, especially if you're on the West Coast. I'm East Coast time. If you're in Australia or, Europe or something, you're probably not going to be able to see it live anyway, because that's just not going to work for you being on the other side of the world. But for the people in North America, we might have to do this Friday night. That might actually work out better for people, because people will probably have their Friday nights off. I don't during football season, but I do here in April. And that might also work well for people if you are in Australia and you want to come, because that would just be early afternoon for you. And that would be early afternoon Saturday too. So assuming you don't work weekends, you could be there. We might plan for Friday night, the 18th. That might be our date. Can I save the date here? Can we create an event? Yeah, we can allow that. Let's go with the dark theme. We'll support diversity here. I got to figure out how to do that. Oh, I can add an event. Sweet. Okay. Let's do this right now. Let's focus for let's focus for 7 p.m., right? That's when I'm usually my most active. That's when football games kick off Friday night. Yeah, we'll go with this. We'll go with NHL. I'll set the notification right now. NHL live stream Patreon. So, probably going to be longer than that. Yeah, probably going to be longer than that, but we'll save that. That way we know it's there. I might have to move it down to... Oh, we can just drag it. How about that shit? Google actually did something good. There you go. It'll be longer than probably 8 o'clock. Hopefully, we'll plan for 1 hour. We'll try to move through it pretty quickly and efficiently. That's when we're going to do it. We'll review the Stanley Cup Finals pick. So, yeah, I guess we'll leave it there, guys. Yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover in this video. Yeah, we'll leave it there. I'll talk to you soon. Till next time.